Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 999th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. And what a battle I've got for you today. As you can see, this is fought on one of our custom maps here. You can see here that you've got the big, wide, open plains if you want to fight out in the open. And also you've got the woods as well if you want to bring barbarian troops for the woods bonus, or if you want to hide your units and spring those nasty ambushes onto the enemy troops. You'll see that you've got the big rock here, and what you'll notice is on each side of the rock you'll see the ground is higher, okay, and very often armies try to form up on the higher part of the ground by the rock. Can you see once again on this side of the rock, higher ground again? So as I say, tactical ground movement, very important. As I say, if you look, you've got the big open plains where, as I say, you can fight out in the open, or as I say, you've got the woods there if you want to hide your troops or bring barbarians for the woods bonus. Okay, so our first teammate is Brotherhood member Fesen, who has bought the Numidia faction. Now he's got 9 Numidian legionnaires, 2 elephants and 6 cavalry. Quick look at the Numidian legionnaires. You'll see he's put 8 upgrades on, but to be honest with you, the Numidian legionnaires are very, very poor infantry. Their morale is extremely low. If you look at them, they look a little bit like Roman infantry, but believe me, they are really poor infantry. I've seen these guys fully upgraded take casualties from arrows head on. That just goes to show you how poor they are. And Numidia traditionally is never used in a 31k battle because they're just so poor. So what we do now is we allow 2 elephants for Numidia, just to try and make them competitive. You'll see there's his cavalry there. They've only got light cavalry, and if you count the upgrades there, you'll see he's got 8 upgrades on his light cavalry. That's 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. There's the long shield light cavalry there of Numidia, if you haven't seen them before. And then of course you've got the elephants there. I think these guys got 13 hit points if I'm not mistaken, plus of course they got a big fear factor, big attacking specifications. And as I say, the only way to make Numidia competitive on the 31k battlefield is allow them elephants there. Also we allow them other rules as well. In this particular battle, no archers and no artillery, but apart from that they can bring whatever they want there. So we're trying to make Numidia as competitive as we can on the 31k battlefield. It'll be interesting to see how well Fesen uses them during the course of the battle. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood member Vidar. Now Vidar, get ready for this, has got 16 infantry and 4 cavalry. Okay, 16 infantry and 4 cavalry, so he's certainly got a lot of firepower there. I'm thinking his cavalry probably just gold, just gold shield, gold attack there, but also just like to show you a bit old school here. Okay, can you see that he's made his general the eagle unit? Now you don't see that these days, but many years ago a lot of people used to make their general the eagle unit before most of us changed to urban cohorts. So as I say, it's a little bit old school there on the 2025 RTW battlefield. Be interesting to see how well he does with that army during the course of the battle. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood member JGP, and he has got the bog standard 31k Roman army of 14 infantry and 6 cavalry. And the reason that's the bog standard 31k Roman army for many years is because it's so effective and so efficient. And our last teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, that's just got 13 Spartans. That's all I got, just 13 Spartans there. So there's our team. It's got the potential to be an absolutely cracking battle. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Spitfyr. Now he's got the Seleucid faction. He's got 6 Silver Shield Legionnaires, 8 Silver Shield Pikemen, 3 cavalry and 3 chariots. Now I just want to show you the upgrades on this Seleucid Pikester. Can you see that they've only got gold shield, gold attack on? Now we know Seleucid morale is very poor, so that's why most people put at least 1 stripe on their Seleucid pikemen, sometimes 2. Those veteran stripes that obviously increase their morale. But with just gold shield, gold attack on the Seleucid pikes, I would suggest that is unusual upgrades. Please leave your thoughts in the comments on that. But as I say, we know Seleucid morale is not very good, so the veteran stripes kind of really do make a difference. But he may well not have spent money on them because he spent money on his cavalry. There you go, he got 8 upgrades on his cataphracts there, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Remember, we call these guys the tanks of the ancient world because they're armored from head to toe, and with 8 upgrades on, that's some kind of serious cavalry there. Okay, quick look at the upgrades on his Silver Shield Legionnaires. Well, his general unit anyway has got 7 upgrades on, an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack there. And you'll see here, if you look at that particular general unit, you'll see that the general and the standard bearer are standing at the back of the general unit there. Usually, as you know, it's usually on the left side of the unit. And there you are. And then we've got the Seleucid chariots. Now remember, I know I talk a lot about the chariots, but I mean, make no mistake, these can be battle-winning troops. They got massive attack specifications, and they got that massive fear factor, taking morale away from enemy troops, destabilizing them, making them more susceptible to routing. But if the chariots run amok, they kill both friend and foe alike, and they become a menace to both friend and foe alike. And if your run amok chariots start to chop down your allies' armies, you can become unpopular very quickly. So I always say, before you bring chariots, make sure that you're confident and competent with them, because they really are a double-edged sword. Okay, their next teammate is Brotherhood member Mantu. Now Mantu has got 11 chosen axemen, 3 berserkers, 5 light cavalry, and 1 armored cavalry general unit there. Quick look at his axemen there. Okay, you'll see that he's got 8 upgrades on his axemen, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Okay, and don't forget, these guys have got excellent morale as well, and of course they are effective against armor. And remember, they cut wide swathes through heavily armored troops like Roman infantry. And remember, the more heavy armor that the enemy troops are wearing, the more the effective against armor bonus cuts in. Okay, so the higher the armor the enemy wears, the better the axemen perform. Okay, and then we've got the infamous berserkers. Okay, they got 2 hit points, excellent morale. They got effective against armor maces, and they bring a big fear factor too. And arguably, they are the most powerful units in the game. That's why we only allow 3 in the Germanic army, because they're so powerful. But a good Germanic general can still have battle-winning troops with these berserkers. And as I say, with the fear factor that they bring, they are, you know, as I say, arguably the most powerful units in the game. And if you notice here, you'll see that Mantu has just bought light cavalry. Okay, unusual for him. He usually brings the Gothic cavalry, but he's bought fast-moving light cavalry with just gold shield, gold attack on. If you haven't seen them before, there's a close-up of them, and he's got he's got a barbarian chosen warlord, a cavalry unit there. So I think that's one of Mantu's old Germanic armies there he's bringing to the modern day battlefield. Okay, their next teammate is Brotherhood member Tabor. Now Tabor's got 14 infantry and 6 cavalry, but amongst his infantry he's got early legionary cohorts, which is a cheap low morale unit there that he's put at the forward units of his battle formation. We'll see how that does during the course of the battle. Their last teammate is is RTW player Barclayman. Now he's got 13 pikes, 1 Eastern Infantry General, I think, 4 chariots, and 1 cav unit there. If you have a look there, you'll see that he's got an Eastern Infantry unit, which is nicknamed the Pajama People, as a forward unit of his battle formation there. Okay, you can see why they call the Pajama People there. And if you notice the upgrades on his pikes, he's got 8 upgrades, 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack on his pikemen. So make no mistake, those pikes are serious pikemen there. Okay, the long pikes of Pontus, and of course this is his faction of choice. And there's the chariots there as well. We've already talked about the chariots, but as I say, Pontus is fast becoming Barclayman's faction of choice. And there's his armoured Eastern general cavalry unit there. Very tough unit, that. So they were, look at the diversity of the team that we're facing here. We're facing Seleucid with Spitfyr. We're facing Germania with Mantu. Rome with Tabor, and Pontus with Barclayman. Should be a cracker for you to watch. Okay, at this very, very early stage of the battle, we've literally just pressed start. You'll see that JGP is being very aggressive here, moving towards the enemy Brutii troops quite quickly there. And you'll see Vidar is moving towards possibly the Germanic enemy troops, or maybe the Seleucid enemy troops, or he may well deploy on the higher part of that ground that we looked at earlier by the side of the rock there. As I say, it's a slightly higher bit of ground there, which he may well deploy on. Be interesting to see what he's going to do there. And you'll see that Fesen with his Numidian army now is actually racing to get over to us on the other flank. It's kind of a change, isn't it? It's not me that's having to run to the other flank. It's another player, which you know, as a lot of you know, I usually on these custom maps, it's usually me that runs to the other flank. Here you can see my Greek cities moving forward here to support JGP. Now, if you notice in front of us now, we've got 3 enemy armies. We've got the enemy Brutii, we've got the enemy Germania, and we've got the enemy Pontus there. Okay, so there's 3 enemy armies in front of JGP. So as I say, I'm running my Spartans over to kind of support and brace his army there, possibly thinking to integrate my army with his. And as I say, over on this right side of the rock, it looks to me like possibly Vidar is looking to deploy on that higher bit of ground, but we just have to wait and see. Whether the Seleucid troops are going to attack or move over to their allies, that's something we just have to wait and see as the battle unfolds there. You can see that Fesen's got his cavalry here, his light cavalry, and he's moving his elephants there. I think he's resting his Numidian legionnaires that are winded at the moment. But as I say, he's bringing his elephants over with a massive fear factor that they've got. And as I say, here you can see that I'm actually integrating my Spartan army with JGP's army here. So the way that JGP moved forward, he looked very, very aggressive there. So it'll be interesting to see if he's going to attack Tabor there. Okay, you'll notice here it looks to me like he's putting that unit in Testudo, but he may well be attacked there by Tabor's forward units. Now, what we looked at earlier, what I said to you earlier, was I believe that the 4 forward units of Tabor's infantry battle formations are early legionary cohorts. So these are cheap units, very low specifications and very low morale as well. But I suppose they make good piler shield units there. As you can see, JGP throwing pilers into those cheap units. Pause the game for a second. There's a close-up look at them there, early legionary cohorts there, if you haven't seen them before. And there's one unit routing already down there from just taking piler damage there. That just goes to show how poor their morale is. Now, whether JGP is going to do a full attack on those forward units, we just have to wait and see. You can see that he's charged one urban cohort unit into one of the early legionary cohort units there. As I say, right from the beginning of this battle, it struck me that JGP wants to be very aggressive. You can see he's putting lots of units in now to attacking those forward units of Tabor. Let's just pause the game for a second here. So as I say, JGP there, you can see, as I say, I've integrated my army in there, and you'll see now that the Numidian legionnaires have arrived. And as I say here, we're facing Brutii, Germania and Pontus there. And if you notice that the Brutii infantry are on the higher ground. Now over here it looks to me like Vidar is trying to go for the enemy Seleucid army here. Looks like Vidar is looking to be very aggressive there against the Seleucid army. So it'd be interesting to see what Spitfyr does with his Seleucid army. Does he want to take on the Roman SPQ army, or is he going to make sure he's going to try and avoid them? Be interested to see what happens on the right side of that rock. But as it said here, there's been a lot of pilot exchanging here between the enemy Brutii and our SPQ ally. Here you can see Tabor charging forward there, and then he's deciding to pull back. Interesting tactic there. And here you can see that unit going into Testudo. Now I just thought you might find this quite interesting here, looking at those units in Testudo. Let's just pause the game for a second here. So just to say that this unit is in what the Romans called Testudo. This is a real formation that they used back in the day. Can you see it protects them from the front, from any missiles coming in? If they got missiles coming in from the flank, they're protected from the flank there as well, on both sides of course. And of course any arrows or missiles coming in from above, they're also protected with that as well. So this was a really good, well thought out battle formation here that the Romans came up with, called the Testudo. I just thought you might find that quite interesting to see there. And as you can see, JGP's put his units into Testudo there, probably to soak up enemy pilers. And you can see once again JGP moving forward, and I'm going to back him up with my Spartan army there. Okay, so there you go. You can see he's now come out of Testudo and now is attacking Tabor's Testudo unit there. But if you also look, can you see they're frightened, intimidated by nearby enemy troops. Okay, now can you see this unit, I think of 53 men, they're routed. There, that unit there, 53 men, I think, it routed, right? Just because the morale dropped because of the morale sapping abilities of the enemy berserkers. Okay, so make no mistake, even though the berserkers are stood a long way away from our troops, their fear factor does go a long way, and these SPQR troops of JGP are intimidated by nearby enemy troops, which means that their morale is lowered by the intimidation of those troops. Okay, so that's why that 53-man unit all of a sudden came out of Testudo and ran away, because its morale dropped so much by those berserkers' fear factor there. Once again, you'll see JGP charging forward again. Lots of pilot exchanging going on between the enemy green Brutio army and JGP's purple SPQR army there. You can see lots of pilots being thrown in, but you can also see that the Brutio troops are on the higher ground by the rock there. So as I say, a fierce battle going on there between JGP's forward units and the enemy Brutio troops there. Okay, but there's a lot of enemy troops there to move forward onto JGP. Okay, meanwhile over on the right side of the rock, you can see that Vidar is kind of forming up. Almost, it looks to me like he's almost daring the Seleucids to attack him there. Can you see he's no longer going after them from what I can see here. It looks like he's just going to form up maybe a defensive formation on the side of the rock, and maybe bring his cavalry over to the other side there to help us out. We'll just have to wait and see. But here, as I say, you can see Tabor's green Brutio infantry being very aggressive. Right, okay, here comes JGP's cavalry. Get ready for this. Charging in there, and bang, as he smashes in to that Brutio infantry. You can see now that Tabor's brought more of his infantry forward. They're probably starting to throw pilers in. There they were, and you can see they're throwing pilers into JGP's army now, possibly weakening his infantry and that cavalry, unless he got that cavalry out quite quickly there. But you can see pilers going in from both sides there. Remember, those pilers are armor piercing, effective against armor. You can see Vidar charged some cavalry in there as well. Nice support there by Vidar's cavalry going in there. And you can see I'm moving my Spartans forward as well now to support JGP's infantry. Okay, so it looks to me like this is where the battle's going to kind of kick off, here on the left side of the rock. You can see JGP bringing his cavalry over here, and you can see my Spartans are now engaging the enemy troops. Well, what I wanted to show you here is, can you see that both Fesen's cavalry and Vidar's cavalry are charging in through my Spartans? Now I just want to show you this. Newer players to Rome Total War, can you see, as I say, Vidar's cavalry charging in through my Spartans there, and you've got the Numidian cavalry charging in through my Spartans too. But if you notice, my Spartans have got their spears up. Okay, can you see that? All my Spartans have got their spears up. Okay, now the reason for that is because we've talked about in other battle videos, if a pike or spear unit has got his pikes and spears down, friendly cavalry running through that unit will lose cavalry on their friendly pikes and spears. So when you've got friendly cavalry charging through your pike or spear faction, you must always lift your spears or pikes to allow your cavalry to come through without causing them casualties. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. Remember, if you've got a pike or spear unit and your allies charge cavalry through, lift your pikes and spears, otherwise you'll cause your allies big casualties, friendly kills, which you don't want. There you can see Vidar's cavalry and the Numidian cavalry there pressing in on the enemy Brutii infantry. But if you look, can you see that the Brutii infantry is still on the higher ground? Over here you'll see that JGP's cavalry is being attacked by that Pontus chariot unit there. You can see that. Sometimes the chariots can chop up a cavalry unit, but other times the cavalry unit can rout the chariot unit there. It looks to me, from what I can see here, that chariots are going to be routed there. There you go. So well done to JGP there. And there's another chariot unit. Now, I think Barclayman is trying to get a rout going on the Numidian infantry with this chariot unit. Watch this chariot unit going to the Numidians and bang! As it smashes in there. He knows the Numidian morale is really, really poor. And I think by using that chariot, he was probably hoping that that chariot was going to run amok and start killing Numidian troops there in amok mode and possibly routing some of the units there. But luckily, it's the chariot unit that routed. As I say, here you can see I've got my Spartans now fighting the Brutii infantry. You can see the Germania troops have moved closer, and you've got some Pontus pikes there as well. Pause the game for a second here. So as I say, got my Spartans in there now, integrated with JGP's SBQR troops fighting the enemy Brutii, Pontus and Germania troops there. We've got the Numidian elephants and Vidar and JGP's cavalry locked and loaded, ready to charge in as well. There, so that's good news for us. But over here, as I say, you got those Pontus pikes and the Germanic cavalry there as well, maybe looking to counter our cavalry. Meanwhile, on the right side of the rock here, now you'll see here that Vidar is setting up a defensive position literally on the side of the rock. Can you see how his troops are actually standing up on the actual edge of the rock there? Okay, can you see that? Unusual to see that on Rome Total War, being able to put troops actually kind of on the rock, which is what he's done there. But you can see that the Seleucid cataphracts there of Spitfyr are charging in. He's throwing chariots in there as well. Remember the chariots there, sapping the morale of the SBQR troops there. You can see them charging in like a bang as they smash in there. And you can see there that the pikes are looking to move in, but you can see the cavalry have made inroads. And as I say, those chariots are really trying to penetrate. There's a Pontus chariot there as well. I see Barclayman's bought a Pontus chariot. Pause the game for a second. There you are. So you can see that Seleucid chariots there are attacking, plus that Pontus chariot is attacking as well. Look how they're actually getting in between Vidar's SBQR infantry and chopping down his infantry there, plus the fear factor as well, what we've talked about. But over here on the left side of the rock, you'll see that a lot of Tabor's green Brutii troops have been routed. In fact, from what I can see, he's only got his general unit left now. Tabor's only got his general unit left, so that's good news for us there. But JGP's troops have been quite depleted as well, from what I can see. Okay, but meanwhile, on the right side of the rock there, you can see the cataphracts, chariots. Now you've got the pikemen there moving in on Vidar's SBQR troops. But because Vidar has got that higher ground there, look at that cavalry charging there. Bang! And it smashes in there. But as I say, because Vidar's got that high ground, you can see there kind of up on the edge of the rock, another chariot charge going in there. He seems to be managing to hold here, even with all the chariot fear factor, the cavalry hits going in on him. Now the pike and infantry. Look at the enemy troops going in on Vidar's SBQR troops there. Oh my gosh. Just look at that. You've got Tabor's cavalry charging in. You've got the Seleucid pikemen and Silver Shield legionnaires charging in. You've got the cataphracts coming in as well, all on Vidar's SBQR infantry there. But I think the position that he's holding there, because he's on kind of, as you can see, that higher ground, where his troops are actually placing themselves on the edge of the rock there. See how high up they are. I mean, I think that's quite almost an unassailable position there. I think be interesting to see what happens on that side. Meanwhile, here on the left flank, you'll see that Mantu has launched a massive Germanic chosen axeman attack on the Numidian infantry. Oh my gosh, and you've got the berserkers locked and loaded, ready to be activated as well. So we need to get some troops over there. You've got the elephants there. Now make no mistake, the elephants' fear factor will be affecting the Germanic troops. You've got Vidar's and JGP's cavalry ready to counter-attack as well. You'll see that my infantry now is dealing with the Pontus pikemen here. Okay, this is a slow slog for me against the Pontus pikes with their long pikes, against my short-speared Spartans. But here, the Germanic troops, I mean, Mantu, really aggressive. Now watch out for the berserkers being activated. Watch for their red banner. They are. Can you see the red banners now? So the berserkers are now activated, but you can see the Numidian elephants charging in, throwing the Germanic troops up in the air as they smash through those axemen there. Oh my gosh. But that Numidian elephant has now been routed, as you can see. But you can see those berserkers are really laying into the Numidian infantry. You'll see that JGP has moved some of his SPQR infantry up there to try and brace the the Numidian line there. Okay, so you can see Vidar and JGP's cavalry smashing in to the enemy troops there. Oh my gosh, right, pause the game for a second here. So here you'll see that the green Brutii cavalry of Tabor are fighting both some of JGP's and Vidar's cavalry. Okay, you can see the Germanic cavalry here of Mantu are going to charge in. They're fresh, but they are only light cavalry. So it'll be interesting to see what difference they make when they charge in. But you can see other SBQR cavalry have been charged in here against the axemen. There's the berserkers, look. Chopping down enemy troops. You can see the Numidian cavalry have been charged in there as well to try and support their infantry. Oh my gosh, the battle could be won or lost here, maybe on this flank. You can see those 3 berserker units there with their effective against armor maces and the massive fear factor they're bringing to our troops. But over here, it'd be interesting to see what happens with this cavalry fight. There's a Germanic general charging in. Right, here comes the Germanic light cavalry going to charge in there. I think they got a 6 charge bonus, and bang, as they smash in there. Oh my gosh. As I say, maybe the battle is going to be won or lost on this flank. You can see JGP pulling a lot of his cavalry out, and you can see, I think, Vidar's cavalry are still fighting there. Whether they'll, I think they've just been routed. Over here, you'll see Numidian cavalry charging in to enemy troops there. You can see Fesen charging them in. Well done, he did well there. And I can see there's just 2 berserkers fighting at the moment. Okay, but you can see a lot of the Numidian infantry and SBQR infantry of JGP are now routing. Okay, they are now routing. I'm not sure, but I think maybe most of the Numidian infantry and most of JGP's infantry have now been routed. Okay, so that's bad news for us. As you can see, my Spartans here, I'm still dealing with the Pontus pikes, the long pikes of Pontus. He's still got Fesen, still got 1 elephant unit left there. Be interested to see what he's going to do with that. But over here, you can see the Germanic light cavalry there, and Tabor's green Brutii cavalry kind of won that little cavalry fight that was ensuing on this flank. But as I say, JGP's general's still alive there. He's moving his general back there. There's the berserkers. Just watch the berserkers. You watch the berserkers kind of spin round. They do like a spin as they hit the enemy troops are there. Watch how he spins round there. Did you see how he turns round there? Turns round again. See how look how he spins round, chopping down enemy infantry there. Oh my gosh, but I think they managed to kill those berserkers there. Right, you can see a JGP charging cavalry in there. Look, bang! That smashes into the Germanic troops. Here you can see the light cavalry charge. Oh my gosh, that's the Numidian general has just been routed. Okay, so I think now all the Numidian infantry has now been taken out, and look at that cavalry, look at that Germanic cavalry charging there, bang, as it smashes in there. Oh my gosh. So as I say, the Numidian general's been taken out. JGP might have a couple of infantry units left and some very battle damaged cavalry. He's still got his general unit left there, but that's a heck of a lot of enemy troops. You've got some Pontus pikes heading in his way as well. You've still got Fesen's elephant unit there. Now whether he's going to throw that in to try and help JGP, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, as I say, my Spartans here, it's a slow slog. The short spears of the Spartans up against the long pikes of Pontus. It takes a long grinding down battle there. Right, now over here you'll see that the Seleucid general, Spitfyr's general, has just been routed there, but you can see that Vidar's SPQR infantry looks to me like it's still holding pretty firm in this position, even though the Seleucids are really pressing. Oh my gosh, I think I can see a Seleucid cavalry unit's managed to get up high. Oh my gosh, look at that. You can see that Seleucid cavalry unit there. There's only a few of them. What's that, 5 or 6? Must have come in from this angle, look, and have got above, or at least even with those SPQR troops. Can you see that the SPQR cavalry, the Seleucid cavalry have been auto-attacked, and they're using their effective against armor maces there? Oh my gosh, I can't believe they managed to get in there. So well done to Spitfyr, but you can see here that the SPQR troops are up high on the edge of that rock, and that's going to give them, I think, a big advantage, even though all those Seleucid troops are pushing in on them there. And there you can see a couple of Vycox's units moving away from the battle there. Maybe he feels he's going to lose there, and he's moved those two morale boosting units away. I'm not sure, or maybe he was just chasing the unit and didn't realise that they'd run that far away. And meanwhile, over here on the left side of the rock, you'll see that Fesen is keeping his elephant unit close to JGP so that the morale is being sapped from the enemy troops there. That's why he's got his elephants there. He hasn't charged them in, but he's got them there just to sap the morale of the enemy troops. Okay, and you can see that JGP still got some infantry units left there, which is good news. Trying to kill Tabor's general. You can see Tabor's general there, trying to kill Tabor's general. Be a good move if we can do that. There, you can see that cavalry charging in, and bang! I was expecting Tabor's general to actually rout there, but I'm just thinking that Fesen might charge his elephants in there, and that will definitely rout Tabor's Brutii general. Watch this if Fesen charges that in, and bang! Tabor's general routed on impact there. So as I say, JGP's still got 3 infantry units left there, and you can see there that, as I say, the short spears of Spartans up against the long pikes of Pontus there. It's always a slow slog there. Okay, so here you can see that JGP has just got 2 infantry units left. A general unit there that's been attacked by those effective against armor axemen and the light cavalry of Germania there, trying to kill JGP's general. Make no mistake about that. Oh my gosh, so it's just a general unit left. JGP has only got 1 unit left now, and that's his general unit. That's all that he's got left now. So that just goes to show how grinding down this battle really is. You can see the rest of his units have routed there. Will his general unit hold, or will it get taken out? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But meanwhile, on the other side of the rock, you can see, as I say, Vidar there holding really well. I can see a heck of a lot of the Seleucid units have been routed now. I think all the cavalry units have been routed. The chariots have either all been killed or have run amok now. So Vidar's doing well there, where you can see a heck of a lot of the Seleucid units are routed. I can see more Seleucid units routing there. In fact, that might be all the Seleucid army has been routed there. Okay, here you can see Fesen is charged the elephants in there to try and support JGP's general there. You he sent the elephants in against those Germanic axemen, and both those axemen have now been routed. So there you are, you can see JGP's general is still alive. Meanwhile, my Spartans have finally grinded down the Pontus pikemen there, and I can now bring my Spartans over here to defend Fesen's general if he needs it. But there's not a lot of enemy troops left at this stage of the battle, and in fact I would suggest that at this stage of the battle we've actually managed to go on and actually win the battle here. So there you are, you can see my unit's very battle depleted there. But over on the other side of the rock, there you are, you can see that Vidar, by holding that position there on the higher ground, has managed to rout all those Seleucid units there. But fair play to Spitfyr, he was throwing everything in there to try and dislodge Vidar's army from that rock. So really well done to Spitfyr, and really well held there. But you can see the height of the ground there, you can see the dead. There's a lot of Seleucid cavalry there that got up high on that rock, that managed to get at least even with those SPQ or infantry. So you can see how intense the fighting was there. I can see that Vidar's men have still got some pilers left there, very intense. You can see here where they've attacked from all different directions there. So as I say, well done to Spitfyr. And over on this particular side of the rock, the left side of the rock here, you can see there the dead there. Look at that, you can see the big piles of dead. I can see Numidian cavalry there. I can see, and of course the red cloaked Spartan dead, as we've looked at in many other battle videos. They really stick out on the battlefield, don't they? I mean, you can see there, but you can see a lot of enemy dead in between the Spartans there. And over here, that's a lot of Spartan dead there. As I say, fighting the long pikes of Pontus, you know that Spartans are going to lose a lot of men fighting those long pikes. There's another big group of my Spartans dead there, that fighting the long pikes of Pontus. And as I say, the red cloak Spartans really do stick out on the battlefield. Here you'll see a lot of Germania dead. There you can tell by their red trousers. Over here on this flank, I mean, oh my gosh, there you can see that's a lot of Numidian dead infantry there. Those blue shields you saw there, a lot more Numidian dead there as well. And moving over here, you can see a lot of dead there. Oh my gosh. But I think JGP did well. Look at that for a massive dead. JGP did well there. His general's still alive, so he's still giving general morale bonus there. So well done to JGP. Even if he's lost the rest of his army there, the general's still there giving that morale bonus. So well done to JGP, keeping the general alive. And over here, I think this is the only Numidian unit left, this elephant unit of Fesen. So the rest of Fesen's army is dead there, and JGP. So JGP and Fesen have only got one unit left each in their whole army. So that just goes to show how much of a grinding down battle this really was, doesn't it? If you look at that. And this is this cavalry fight over here. Do you remember we saw this massive cavalry fight with the SPQR cavalry there up against the Brutii cavalry and that Germanic cavalry as well there? I think the last of the enemy generals has just admitted defeat there. So as I say, the units that I've got left are very battle depleted. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game. I thought everybody played well. Now, it's an average victory. Now, looking at the troops that we had left, I thought it would be close. I don't know what all of you thought there. And the highest kills in the game unusually go to myself. Spartan Commander managed to scrape in the highest kills. And if you notice, can you see I've got the smallest army on the battlefield? Can you see that? The smallest army on the battlefield, but still managed to just about scrape in the highest kills there. Just lucky there, I think, really, to be honest. But pleased with that. Okay, so well done to Spitfyr there. He'll be disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills, but he was attacking quite a difficult army there, wasn't it, in its position. Well done to Mantu. He got over 1,000 kills with his Germanic army. Well done to Tabor. He got over 1,000 kills. Well done to him. And well done to Barclayman. He got over 1,000 kills as well. So really well played, guys. Great battle there. Well done to JGP. Got some great kills with his SBQ army. And well done to Vidar, got some great kills there as well against the Seleucids there. And well done to Fesen. He might be a bit disappointed he got less than 1,000 kills, but I think he did well there with Numidia. So well done to him. Now, what about faction advantage? I always like to ask you if you think it's a faction advantage. So we got Greek cities, Rome and Numidia. Okay, and they've got Seleucid, Germania, Rome and Pontus. So I think on average there, I think we've probably got the faction advantage there, to be honest with you. And just to say, I can't believe that the next battle I put on is going to be our 1,000th battle. Who would have thought we'd have ever got to 1,000? And I've got a really good battle, which I hope you'll enjoy for the 1,000th battle ready to put on. So please leave a comment on this battle. It's always nice to read what you think about our battles, or please at least give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Spartan Commander saying see you soon and bye for now.